Great. Thanks so much for joining us today, Tharaka.
Thank you.
We met about less than a year ago
Yeah.
when you came to our Roots We Take exhibition, and you were so wide-eyed and so happy to be here. And I don't know, from the second that we saw each other, I was thinking, I don't know, this guy's going to be a part of this work in some way. And so I'm so glad that we've now become friends, and now our work is connected, and I'm so happy to see what you're building. But I think today we just want to chat and talk about our experiences, both of us having been born and brought outside of Sri Lanka, and our connection to it.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind introducing yourself a little bit and your experience.
And also, it was epic meeting you as well, considering like the randomness of it, being told I had to come to this like mandatory attendance, and I was like, okay, what is this? And then just like discovering all these cool things that were happening, and I would just be like, oh, I need to learn.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally people are like, who is this person? Too much energy at times. But I'm glad you were like receptive of it.
Of course. Self-awareness is key.
Yes, it is. So yeah, a bit about me. So I was actually born here. So I got that.
Nice. Good for you.
Yeah, but then 4 months. So
Yeah.
I hold on to it with a very like loose thread.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Aotearoa, New Zealand, and I guess was very blessed to kind of have that, upbringing in a country that's so far away.
Yeah.
But I think also it's so different to quite a lot of countries, considering we've got a strong, indigenous presence with Maori culture, and then also just like the vast variety of different cultures, like ranging from all the Pacific Islands to all the Asian countries, and then just everything in between. So I think I was very blessed to kind of have that, and then see Sri Lanka as like this kind of home, away from home, and then navigating that together. That was interesting. So yeah, and then I guess a bit about me in a nutshell is like I came here a while back, 5 years ago, and that was my kind of journey back to the roots. And for me, I've always been curious about this stuff.
Yeah.
Because being in that culture in New Zealand, you see so many people bring their kind of own culture, and then you go, oh, what do I bring to the table, kind of thing. So I was very fortunate to have that kind of, in New Zealand, but I've always kept asking those questions, like, am I? Why do we do these things? Why do other cultures do things differently? So that's what kind of always drew me back to Sri Lanka, and like, the 2-week trips that I don't know, like our parents would take us on to Sri Lanka, the short, snappy mom side, dad side, and then like maybe 1 or 2 days tourist activities. I just had even more questions. I was like, why did we move? Blah, blah, blah. This is such a cool place. So I think that's kind of like been that journey, always asking these questions and wanting to come back.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been nice.
It's exact same for me. And I think that formula of like those 2 weeks, and you're just tossed from like one auntie's house to another's, and spending time with family, which is wonderful, but it just feels so rushed, and it feels like you're kind of cut off from what's going on within the country, and also I feel, for me at least, what the country looks like. I think I was so interested by the nature, by the culture, but really didn't get that opportunity to explore. And I think, having grown up in California, which is also not tropical, but very much moderate and beachy and lively to a certain extent, it just wasn't. There was always a missing piece. I don't know how it was for you growing up within the Sri Lankan community there as well. I'm curious to know.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've heard this thing called the time capsule effect. And essentially it's like, our parents at that point in time, whoever that was in the 90s or 80s, moved to a residing country, taking that culture at that point of time, right? So I think I was exposed to a lot of that, hearing all the old school music,
Yeah.
hearing like just like the way they would kind of bring us up as well. Like I tuition didn't stop for sure. Like that was still there, and I was kind of questioning that, like, why do all my other mates get to like go do all these other things?
Yeah.
Now I have to study more. You know what I mean? Like they did trust the public system there, but it's just like the culture was still the same.
Yeah.
It's just like a New Zealand household.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because they also had, a small variety of like other friends, but it was mainly Sri Lankan.
Of course, same.
You know,
Yeah.
they had like university friends.
Yeah.
And then everyone else was like friends of friends of friends.
Yeah.
So it's like they created this like micro Sri Lanka in New Zealand. I don't know, was that the kind of same on your guys' side?
Totally the same. And it was always, I don't know, functions
Yeah.
of different varieties. And trying to, I mean, I think what you said, it is a time capsule, trying to hold on to the things that they can remember, things that they can remember and how they remembered it. And wanting to pass that on to us, but in a way that I think, I don't know about you, but I was apprehensive to accept in some way, because I think it was something you're trying to assimilate into one culture, you're being held in another space by another culture. It's confusing.
Oh yeah.
And for me, the biggest part of that was the language. And I was so averse to learning it because it just felt like it was too much. I'm like, and it felt irrelevant. It felt like I didn't need it.
Yeah.
I think that's something that you've taken on really well.
You have to adapt.
You have to. And I think in moving here, I thought, okay, I can't go on like this anymore. I can't be embarrassed. I can't. Yeah, it's a key to unlocking so much of living here.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I want to go next. Why did you move? What made you come back?
Well, wow, intense. Well, what I guess the root of it is for me, I obviously coming from the privilege that I have to be aware of as well.
Yeah.
Being able to travel to so many countries, I love backpacking, and I think through my backpacking travels, like over the last 8-10 years, it's just shown me how beautiful, like the intricacies of different cultures are,
Yeah.
and how community is structured, how community functions, what philosophies lie, what are the pillars of life where other people found themselves on, right? Whether that's in Asia, whether that's in Europe, whether that's in Latin America, North America, wherever you go, like they all have their differences, but it's all same in other ways. And all of these appreciations just made me go, oh, like I just really want to deepen my own understanding of my own culture, because one, there was this gap which I didn't properly know about myself.
Yeah.
And two, it's this parallel universe that I thought about, like, what if mom and dad never moved? What would my life look like? And it's hard to say because they were very fortunate to get scholarships to go to Colombo and then access education in different ways, which I think would have been very different, if we stayed in the village. But like fast forward, let's assume, we can have trajectories of life. But I think I just wanted to find that out for myself, write my own narrative, and then just go, cool, what would life look like for me?
Yeah.
What about you?
It's crazy, and we've actually never spoken about that, and it's so funny, but I use the exact same language. I always say, to me, it's one decision that made us grow up in California versus here. And I always wondered what that life would have looked like. And for me, I got to see that when I went to uni, and there were a few students from Sri Lanka, born and raised, at all their studies here, who went to the same uni as me. And when we met, there were so many similarities in the things that we talked about, the things that we knew, the shows we watched, the music we listened to. But there were small things that were just different. And I loved finding those things and learning more about them and the way they spoke. And I think more so the way they spoke about Sri Lanka. Almost all of them left to study and to like subsequently work in the country, but with the plan to come back, basically like gain knowledge, experience, all so that they could come back and basically further develop Sri Lanka. And I know that also for them, like, hearing about the life that they lived in terms of being able to travel and enjoy life and having that balance. And to me, that was something I always saw lacking in American culture. I think I came just a bit before you did, but it was COVID.
Yeah.
And so it was really the time where everybody was put on pause and had to reflect. And I thought, just truly, if there was ever a time for me to come, like this has to be it. I've just finished my studies. I haven't really entered the workforce as such. If I don't do it now, I feel like it would be really complex going down the line. I've now learned, and I've met so many people who have come mid-career, and it's no different. They've been able to manage it. But I am so fortunate to have come at that time and now to build my career here, which has been so nice. Being able to have rice and curry or Sri Lankan food in general every day is the biggest blessing. I feel so fortunate in that sense.
Healthy as well.
Yeah, healthy and yeah, access to nature, I think, unparalleled. So yeah, similar.
Good.
But on the flip side, what are some of the challenges that you've had to face? Because you came here last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mindful, it's obviously a bit after Haragale and stuff like that, so still feeling some of the stuff, but I guess not as intensely. But I think, because of the trip I made 5 years ago, the 6-month little kind of stint, I got adapted to a lot of the things then,
Good.
learned the lessons, and then I think now it's just like version 2 where I'm just like, I'm not even phased.
Yeah.
There might be the odd like double, triple power cut where I'm like, come on, man. And then like, gotta go to the cafe. So
Yeah.
But like, honestly, like, it's been pretty smooth sailing. I've just been like, okay, this makes sense. This doesn't. How does this go? Okay, like, this would have been different in the Western country,
Yeah.
but like, that's why I'm here in the first place, to
Yeah.
figure out, like, you know, if I see gaps, I'll be like, hey, maybe this could be improved.
Right.
You just suggest things, right?
Right,
It's
yeah.
not to complain about it.
No.
It's to go, hey,
Yeah.
this is something because of something else. Let's
Yeah.
work on it together.
Yeah.
One example I would say, like, I'm still scarred by this, was like taking like a whole day to open up a bank account. And I was just there like, okay, back home that would have been a very short time frame.
Yeah.
But the more I thought about it, like the financial fraud that could be happening, they just have to do their due diligence, checking all these other things, and it being a paper-based system, like there were certain things I was like, oh, okay, they genuinely are trying to do their job, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. I don't need to get mad and apply my Western privilege here and
Yeah.
just go with the flow with this. So I was just
Yeah.
like, okay. And then it became a lot easier.
Yeah.
So little things like that.
Totally.
What about you?
One of my biggest, I think, was driving.
Nice.
So both coming here and in California especially, you can't do anything without a car.
True.
And so I was so used to driving places, and I think that part was fine. Like I quickly adapted to taking tuk-tuks and the bus and trains, and like wasn't an issue. But I think just being on the road and just the way traffic is going, and like all the different kinds of vehicles trying to like carve their space, and like feeling like it's just utter chaos.
Yeah.
And it's loud, and it's like there's so many noises and smells and like so many things, like it's just overstimulating when you're on the roads, and just feeling so overwhelmed. And I think that again over time, like getting used to it, but then it just came to a point where I was like, I'm so afraid to start driving myself. And I thought, there's no way. I mean, I've grown up in a country where I could close my eyes and be somewhere. I mean, it's just so systematic.
Yeah.
And so slowly taking that leap, and it was something that I used to complain about a lot. And it took me 3 years. And I'm so I was so, now I'm so ashamed to think like how that was totally my Western mind thinking like there's no order, there's no structure here. But really, once I started driving, I'm like, everybody's in sync
Yeah.
to a certain degree. I mean, like, there's a rhythm to the way you drive.
Yeah.
And so trying that and then finding that was like one of my proudest moments. I don't know if you feel similarly. I've had to develop kind of like a mindfulness practice in order to kind of deal with and understand some of like the differences or frustrations that I maybe wasn't facing before. There's so much of unrecognized comforts of growing up in the Western world that are not here, but I feel like that's been such a growth for myself. And I think it also has to do with what you were saying, like kind of like the island time, slow pace of life. You're just kind of going with these natural rhythms.
Oh yeah.
I think it's been one of my favorite things that I have learned about myself and have grown in myself. I think we've talked about so much of why we came here, what the journey's been, but I also want to think about what's next for us. And also now that we are part of Sri Lanka, to me, I feel this responsibility that whatever I do, has a direct impact on the local economy. It contributes to what Sri Lanka is, what Sri Lanka can be. So I want to ask you how you feel about Sri Lanka's future. I mean, can be in your work, but also personally, now that we are very much a part of it.
Nice. It's cool because I get to always talk about this stuff when I try and bring people on the team.
Yeah.
And it's nice because our team, 6-7 months ago, was just me moving here, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've grown to 20 or 20 plus.
Amazing.
Purely because people believe
Yeah.
in the same vision that like there is a bright future for Sri Lanka and everyone's keen to be part of it.
Yeah.
And especially from people that have grown up outside, they have no idea but this pull that we've both had, and they just want to channel it.
Yeah.
Now, for me, what I've realized my whole life, and I think is the beauty of like what I've observed with my parents, the yin and yang, the give and
Yeah.
back flow, and my life trajectory has always changed substantially the more that I give. I always get, and I don't even think about getting. I just always give, and it just works.
Yeah.
And I have this written on my wall. It's like a social entrepreneur quote, like, see hope when others see despair. Immerse yourself in those issues that are only issues at that time that will develop and grow into better things, right? And I see that hope to kind of like enable some of that from a diaspora perspective. Now, I know I won't have the complete local knowledge to understand how to solve things, but I know that. That's why Roots is partnering with as many kind of local organizations, and all I need to do is be the matchmaker and enabler that allow diaspora to come because they'll listen to the story that I give and then enable them to plug into the economy and ecosystem. And that's the way that I think I can play a part in this role. Channeling in a lot of the talent that's already left and plugging that back through skills and finances, and then hopefully that will contribute because of like looking at it like remittances around like 7% of GDP. We've got 3 million of us outside, so 14% of the total population. There's a massive chance to coordinate that. Obviously, because of a lot of history, there's just been a lot of kind of displacement with all these things, and we just have to figure out a way because youth are keen, and we're pretty much singing on the same hymn sheet around like, hey, let's do something. Let's figure out how this is going to work. And this is why I've met some awesome other change makers who are also trying to bring back people home as well, working together to be like, hey, how do we plug in and just have a good time? So for me, I'm super excited, and it makes me proud that I can say I played a part,
Yeah.
to say I can at least try and enable something for the time that
course.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know how long I'll be here either, because I myself I'm just one of those people that are just like, oh, cool, bounce to the next place,
Yeah.
try this other thing, purely because I love life and just the way I do things. But I want to say that I've kind of like supported the country that's kind of given me all these awesome things, which I haven't even had much time to be in the country, to be
Yeah.
honest with. But it's given me so much that I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
The way I am is all because of Sri Lanka. So
Yeah.
I think it's the least that I could do, you know? So, yeah. What about you?
Oh, that's beautifully put, Tharaka. Honestly. I feel very similar. For me, it's a combination of the people. I think when I moved here, I was so fortunate to have met a wonderful group of friends who really helped kind of ground me and introduce me and give me a lay of the land. And that other person is Randula, and the founder of Good Life X, and introducing me to the community and the ecosystem that she has developed over the years. And to be able to plug into that. And now we have over 180 individual entrepreneurs, creatives, innovators that we've worked with. And I've been so fortunate in my many roles in the organization to have met them, spoken with them, hear their stories. Because for me, I've had so many opportunities and so many privileges growing up in California. And I feel if I can, yeah, enable some of that here and play a part in people who are doing incredible work and just giving them the resources and the empowerment to continue and to scale and to also show that what they're doing, maybe some people in Sri Lanka don't understand. And that's a funny part about living here is I think historically we have been so connected to nature and so inherently sustainable. But with the way global development has gone, we've moved away from that. And so now people see, single use or plastics or, these kind of mass projects as the key and sure, but there's so much of magic in what people are doing with the resources that they have, and I love to be able to be playing a part in that.
Oh, and you would have seen some really cool stuff.
Oh
Like,
my God.
I have only
Yeah.
been a glimpse of some of the stuff Good Luck makes has seen.
Yeah.
I think your view of Sri Lanka is like insane because
Yeah.
like the amount of exposure you've had. I only hope more
Completely.
people get to see that.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. And I want to create that more. And yeah, so first part is the people, and the second part being the nature, climate. I've been studying. I had so much of anxiety around, what direction we're heading in, and to be able to come to Sri Lanka and again see some of the work that was being done that is like directly, challenging, combating, and reversing some of this impact. I only want more of that to be channeled in, and I think that's where partnerships with Roots and other organizations that are bringing and fostering that bridge between people who can again further just enable Sri Lanka to do what it does best and to preserve what it so fortunately has and all of the amazing goodness that it has. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's really simple for me.
Has to be, right?
And it has to be.
You don't
Yeah,
need to make it complex.
no.
And like obviously with like the way you guys are going about regeneration
Yeah.
is awesome because I think, having lived in a place like London, right? Like, yeah, it has the big buildings, has these things, but what Sri Lanka has is like this unique chance, or actually the global south,
Yeah.
a unique chance to not make the same mistakes
Yeah.
that the colonial period made, where they were focused on extracting and exploiting natural and human resources.
Yeah.
Right? We have this beautiful chance to try and reimagine what this kind of new world looks like.
Yes.
I'm trying to get away from the word developing, all this kind of
Yes,
stuff,
yeah.
but like that new world is not that far away
No.
because like we don't have to make all these things. It's just like as simple as just making sure we're harmonious with the things
Yeah.
that are right. So I think that's pretty cool to know that like, you know, it's not just like, imagine if we had all these stuff that the West had and then we have to like kind of circle back
Yeah.
because it didn't work. So we should see it as, hey, look at that model, doesn't work because we know at the rate at which we're going
Right.
at, it's not going to work.
And we're seeing that happen in real time. I mean,
Yeah.
how many examples do we need?
Yeah.
And I think people always say, oh, Sri Lanka is so far behind. But I think we have to flip that and say, okay, we're so far behind, and all of these people have done, or all these countries have done so much. Let's take a look at what they've done, what they've implemented at this point. How has that worked out for them? What can we learn from it? And that's kind of, yeah, getting at what you're saying of we just have to be able to identify that and be able to work towards it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
honestly, it's super exciting. I think that's like
Yeah.
having met like some people in the ecosystem. I'm mindful people you guys have met will be like so awesome as well.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to meet the network as
Yeah.
well. But just like the level of like how progressive people think and how, you know, how deeply rooted things are in culture.
Yeah.
I think that's super important to stick to. And it's just about trying to make sure planting those kind of seeds and then just like allowing different schools of thought to come, of course,
Yeah.
but doing it in a very mindful way.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
see how we go.
We'll see how it goes. I think it's going pretty well so far.
I think so.
Cool. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Just two kids swimming along. Yeah. But no, it's been awesome hearing my experience, and
Yeah.
I really like how, you know, you've held the space. But I think hopefully with some of these other chats that like just opens up completely other schools of thought, I hope, but
Yeah.
also shows a lot of similarities
Yes.
that, you know, we can really show that there's an awesome kind of future to build here, but also at the same time, so many things to discover
Yeah.
for a lot of people or Sri Lankans that, you know, might be thinking, what if,
Yeah.
to take that chance.
Yeah. And I'm super glad that in the work that we're doing is shows that. It shows what it means to be inclusive, what it means to really think about everybody, including our Sri Lankans abroad. So yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.
Cool.